It's me, Justine Dvorak, at Stationery by Justine, where when I craft, my world stands still. Today I'm going to put together a card that I have used my own card sketch to create. So this is the very first official card sketch I've ever put down and actually sketched out on paper officially. Usually when I am creating, I just kind of let the chaos happen, if you will. But I have made a card sketch, so I'm going to use it. We're going to start with the back panel, which is the red big piece of paper there. It is A2 sized. And I'm layering it on with this paper, which is some pattern paper that I had in my stash. It is a little bit smaller than A2, so it is 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to add this piece here, and this piece is 3 by 4 even. This will be the pattern paper that I'm going to layer on top of the other big green rectangle that I have here. So I will layer that on top. So the green panel is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. I like to keep my measurements really easy, not too small of measurements, if you will. And I also like to stretch my pattern paper. So you see this piece right here was just a little scrap. But if I tuck it in behind my red heart panel here, it gives the illusion that it was a bigger piece. So I'm stretching my supplies just a little bit. You will be the only one to know if you watch this video, and me. So my secret, I hope, is safe with you, crafty friend. But I also want to give this a moment as I measure out my spaces here for my panels. I just want to give a shout out to your stash. I know, and you know, that we have pattern paper in our stash that we have not touched. So I'm going to challenge you to make a card with this card sketch. I know, pretty fun, right? So if you do that, I would love for you to share with me on the Pajama Crafters Stamps and Friends Facebook page, and I will link that in the description of this video. It doesn't matter what stamp you put on top, but I'm using the penguin, but you can pick another stamp from the Pajama Crafters Stamps line and put anything you want. If you want to put a cookie on there, or a Yeti, or a lumberjack, or a cat, or a car. Well, the car might be a little big, but my point is, there is paper in your stash that you are neglecting or you are hoarding, and let's be real, let's use it. Anyway, I'm going to just line these little papers up on each side. I know that I have kind of justified it a little bit higher up than the middle. My eye kind of likes things offset. I don't always like to put things dead center in the middle, and I feel like that gives kind of a fun look to art, I guess, if you will, because your eye moves around. So my first green panel, if we were going to be very, very specific, I'm sitting here with a ruler and I'm measuring this out, is 3/4 of an inch from the top, and from the bottom it is 1 1/4, we'll say 1 1/4 inch from the bottom. So it's just up a little bit. Then to make this panel stand out a little bit more, I'm going to pop some foam behind there. It does not matter what foam you have. Just put some on there. I know you have foam in your craft room too. We all do. I have strips and I have a bunch of them, so I figured let's just use them up. Then I reached for my glitter paper because glitter paper makes my heart so happy. I know, it sounds silly, but I'm one of those crazy people that likes glitter. I am all for it. So this glitter scrap was 3 1/4 inches by 1 inch wide, and I just made a little banner. I think that's what these are called. They're a banner. So it was a rectangle before. I just cut a little triangle and to the end and made a banner. I'm going to position that on my red heart panel a little bit higher than 1 inch from the bottom of my hearts. Again, this does not need to be specific. I know some people are very specific about card templates, and if you follow a card sketch or a card template, you have to do it by the letter of the law. So if that's you, I'm going to give you these dimensions here as I go, but I'm also going to tell you to craft with your heart and not your ruler. So if you have a scrap that's a little smaller or bigger, use that. There's no rules here, okay? I do say that often on my channel, but there is no rules to crafting. Then this green heart, again, was a scrap that I had in my shape scraps. I keep those sorted separately. It is just a little over 2 inches. So if you have a circle punch of 2 inches in your craft room, I would grab that. And you can put any stamp on top, like I said, but I'm going to color up this penguin and make it look so darling. So I hope that you stay for that part of the video as well. But that is the basic layout of the card. So we're going to go ahead and start with the coloring of the penguin. I have Copic markers. If you don't know this, if you're new to crafting, you do not need to color with Copic markers, but they are very nice for blending. I'm also using it's a Copic color friendly paper from Pajama Crafters Stamps in the marshmallow color. It's a really nice white paper, and it definitely helps blend with the Copic markers, but they are an alcohol ink. So if you don't have Copics, you could use Olo. You could even use color pencils. Raid your art supply of whatever you have at home. You could do watercolors even. Or grab some color inks and a paintbrush and get crafting. It does not have to be expensive to craft. Just telling you. Okay, enough about that. We are going to pivot here, and I'll talk about how I'm coloring the penguin. So I'm adding the darkest colors of my Copics here. I already put on the first lightest color, which was C1, and I just used C5, and that's going to go in the deep shadow areas, so where the light does not hit on my stamped area. And now I'm going in with C3. So I had C1, 3, and 5. And that kind of gives a little bit of a gradient as I am shading these out. Just being kind of mindful about if the light or the sun, I'm assuming this penguin is outside, right? So if he was outside, the sun is coming from above, which means the lightest spots are going to be on the top parts of my penguin. So I'm talking about the top of the head, top of the fins, top of the little tail rump area. So that kind of gives a deep source there. Now I had a little bit of an oops there, so I just blended it again with my C1, which is almost nothing. It's kind of like the colorless blender, if you will. Isn't this penguin so cute? It is from a stamp from Pajama Crafters Stamps, from the Just Sliding By stamp set, which is very sweet. It has 3 penguins on there. There's one on a sled, there's one on an icy lake fishing in a hole. And this is one of my favorite stamp sets from Pajama Crafters Stamps. It was one of my first. And these little penguins will always have my heart because of that. So for the feet and beak, they will be the same color tones, which is the YR tones. So that is a red, yellow, red, which yellow and red mixed together is orange. All right, I'm going to go in again with C7 now. So I have odd, even blends of Copic markers. So for the C's, I do have 1, 3, 5, and 7. Now for the scarf, this was my favorite part of the blending, if you will, of the markers that is happening on the scarf area. So I'm going to go ahead with my deepest red on this project, my R39, and I'm going to skip every other stripe, and this will create a darker or like a deeper spot to the scarf. This will kind of give the scarf a little bit of like a pillowy, soft, mushy look, which is just what we want in a scarf. We don't want it to be hard and rigid. And then I'm going to take RV29. So this is kind of a red violet, so it's a little more of a pinky tone, and go right up next to that red that I put down with a deep red and a lighter red next to it. It kind of gives a glowing effect at the end. So you kind of have to trust the process. And if you are new to coloring stamped images and you're nervous about messing up, just stamp a couple of them. Practice one first. If you have a special card you want to send to someone, put your best one on there. It doesn't have to be perfect though. So practice, practice, practice. This is not my first colored or stamped image that I've colored in my life. It's probably number 800, I don't know. But this last red will finish off that look. And do you see how it kind of looks like it's glowing? I just love the result of a good blend. I'm going to repeat that on the opposite panels, stripes, and do the dark to light change again. This is with YG, which is a yellow green 67, even on the tip there. And then I thought about what color I wanted to make the earmuffs. I'm going to get into that in just a minute or two here. But I was looking at my card as a whole. It is about 50-50 of the red and green. But I really liked that red glitter paper and the red heart paper, and so I thought that it was just a little bit more red tones on the actual card, so I'm going to make the penguin's little earmuffs red, just as a little matching moment. Here's that YG03 to finish off that glowy, mushy scarf. Mushy is kind of an odd way to say it, but you know what I'm speaking about. I hope it's like the plushy scarves, which we have here in Minnesota now because it is 23 degrees, but it was sunny today, so I am not complaining. Okay, coloring the earmuffs, I'm putting the darkest red, the same color that I used on my scarf, and then I'm going to put the same RV29 right on top and then over a little. And I wanted to make these bright, so I'm going to color the rest of that all in RV29. Then ever so carefully with the very tippy tip of my Copic marker, I colored in the band of the earmuffs, and I was not perfect with that. We're not going to pretend and edit anything of that out, so I'm going to go ahead and take my 0, which is a colorless blender, and it kind of works as an eraser. So if you're new to Copics and you're trying that out, just kind of practice with it. It kind of works as an eraser, but it is letting out fluid onto the area, so it can flood the area a bit. But here's another trick, a white gel pen. So I'm letting that area dry and adding in little dots and highlights with the gel pen, but if you have a mistake that was supposed to be a white area, just cover it up. Again, no one will know unless they look at it with a microscope, which nobody is doing. So just have fun, make mistakes, and get crafted. I'm telling you, it's really fun. So with white gel pen, I did not add any highlights to the actual penguin. I know a lot of times people do that with like the highlight areas. So on this one, it would be the highlight of the flipper or the highlight on the head, but I did not do that, but it's an option. Here's that cute stamp set. I told you those penguins were cute. Now, there are sentiments on here. I figured that I would use the one that says Warm Winter Wishes. I'm gonna heat emboss it, so I'm using my rabbit hole, what is it called? D-static tool. And Versamark clear ink because I'm going to use white embossing powder. Anytime I use white embossing powder, I find that using clear ink first really does work well. So I'll get that nice and inky, and then I'm lining it up with the bottom corner and the edge. Bonus points for watching my serious face in the stamp. Anyway, we're gonna just align it to the bottom because now I only have to cut 2 sides and not 4. And anytime there is less margin for error, I am a happy girl. So I will just put this right into my embossing powder, give it a little tap, 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 warm up my heat gun, and then lightly heat that up. If you have issues with it getting warped, heat the back, heat the front, heat the side. As long as nothing is burning, you just need the embossing powder to melt a little. You don't want it to lose its shine. Then I always use my Ink Off, which is a stamp cleaner from Ink on 3. I don't show this in a lot of videos, but for whatever reason, I left it on the camera here, so I'm just going to add it into the video. It's a good stamp cleaner, and it cleans my stamp block, so that's a win-win. Now for my sentiment, I could take my scissors and just chop it off, but I do like this paper trimmer that I have from Tim Holtz. It's the mini one, and it works really well for these sentiments because I can just slide it under and hold it very carefully with the chopper. Good grief, it looks like I was about to cut off my hand. No. Anyway, then I'll just rip it off there and then cut this edge. And just like that, I have a sentiment that is perfectly sized for my sentiment. Or I have my paper perfectly sized for my sentiment. Ha, words. Anyway, I'm going to glue this on to the bottom corner. I have mine positioned very close to the bottom, about a quarter, actually more like 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. Then on my sketch, I have 3 embellishments, but I am here to tell you, I'm not a person who limits the sparkle, ever. So if you like sparkle, like me, add 5, add 7, add 9, who cares? It does not matter. I think odd numbers look better. I chose to do 3 on this project, but you'll often see my cards with 5 or 7. But that's just me. Speaking of embellishments, I'm using these beautiful red embellishments. These are from Pajama Crafter Stamps as well. If you have not checked out the Pajama Crafter Stamps embellishments, you're missing out, and you gotta check them out. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. And the one that is called Boyfriend Blue is gorgeous, and the one that is called A Girl's Best Friend, which ends up looking like diamonds when your clear glue dries, is stunning. Now, I've also made a few more card sketches, and if you're watching this video all the way to the end, I'm going to give you a little surprise. Here they are. Here's 1 and 2. So I will have details about those on my Instagram coming up. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, crafty friend.